Hello and welcome back to the Investing Bros. I am T Shroom, and you are tuned in to the first crypto news of the trading day. That's right, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here. We do it every single day. We've got a chocked full show for you today. There's been a lot going on. There's a lot to cover, but we have to zoom out. Right. Yesterday was an extremely historic day. The Securities and Exchange Commission went ahead and voted to approve the spot Bitcoin ETF. This has been the dominant narrative forming the crypto markets for the last 3 to 4 months, right? The key word there is dominant. It's been a dominant narrative. Now, where's the dominant narrative? That's the question that we're asking in this video. What are the new risks? What happens now? Some of the major narratives that could emerge as dominant is the Fed. You know, we're seeing some inflation. I'm going to get to that in just a second. We're seeing some inflation statistics come out that are less than favorable for risk assets. So the Fed could continue to be a major narrative moving forward that rocks crypto prices to the upside or the downside. That'll be one that we absolutely continue to follow. The Ethereum ETF. Obviously, seems in this moment in crypto seems to be what the crypto market thinks is going to be the major dominant narrative forming price action for the next couple of months. And then China, we're getting some news out of not only China but also Asia and how their treatment towards crypto could be changing, could be seeing a continued thaw, but it's more complicated than that, right? Of course it is. It's China. And then finally we have the halving, right? One of the more certain aspects of these potential new narratives that are coming in for the crypto markets. That halving, of course, scheduled right now algorithmically for April 12th. That could potentially change, but more than likely that April 12th day is going to be when that Bitcoin halving takes place. But all these narratives are going to be vying for the attention of traders and investors as we move deeper into 2024. And man, I'm here for it. I freaking love it. Shoot it into my veins. I'm T. Shroom for the Investing Bros. We're going to have some fun. But first, we got to have our salad before we get in our steak, of which I have one coming to me. Bros, if you know, you know. Am I right? Let's get it. Let's take a look here at the core inflation. We've also got so we've got the core inflation prints. These are from 8:30 this morning here. And it's always messy to try to show you guys this because it's such a weird layout that they do here. But let's see. So the inflation rate month over month, we'll start with that one. It's not the most important, but it was a miss, right? So the forecast was 0.1. The actual was 0.3. Okay, so that's bearish, right? Bad for inflation. That tells Jerome Powell, hey, maybe I need to keep these rates higher for longer. That sucks the liquidity out of investors' pockets, out of the market, and they have less motivation to risk, right? So that's kind of how that works. This number bigger than this number, asset prices go down, right? At least that's how you can interpret it in the short term. That's as a gross oversimplification. But let's take a look at the year over year. Now this one met. Right, and this one I would say is more important. This is the annual rate. Okay, so 3.9 to 3.9. Now, it did actually miss the consensus? It came in higher than consensus, but it did meet the forecast. So then you also had the core inflation rate month over month, which is different from the inflation rate straight up, and that one also was a disappointment. It came in and it missed the forecast, but it met consensus. Okay. Another thing to point out here is that the core inflation rate, guys, this is the bigger one, right? It actually came in lower than previously, the previous print. So overall, this isn't very bullish. I'd say it's not very bullish. You could interpret it as bullish, and my prediction is probably that the market will interpret this as bullish today. But there's also a decent amount of argumentation there, some fodder for the bears who are going to want to say, no, this is bearish, it's bad. But ultimately, the bigger question zooming out is, does the Fed matter anymore? And I would argue that the Fed's influence on the crypto markets really peaked probably in late summer, early fall of 2023, okay, when there was a lot of uncertainty. But now that the Fed has kind of shown its cards a lot more in actually pausing its rate hikes, right? First of all, that was really important, and then actually doing it. So saying it's going to pausing its rate hikes, continuing to pause its rate hikes with the threat of potentially raising them, and then in the most recent press conference with Jerome Powell saying, no, we are actually looking at potentially cutting multiple times in 2024. The question is when. And the bigger question is, do we care? And I think that the market is more and more saying, no, we don't really care. And that is illustrated very well today by the price of Bitcoin moving up and to the right. You got it there on the hourly chart. I might be a little zoomed in more than you're used to there, but that's the hourly chart for Bitcoin moving up and to the right. Ichimoku is also squarely in the bullish zone. Very, very nice to see. Of course, this is the hourly chart, and you got the green histograms accelerating there, and you've got the MACD lines pointing up and to the right. Let's take a look here at Ethereum, and I'm going to zoom out to the 1 day, get a little variety here for us. On the 1 day, Ethereum looking quite bullish, is it not? So Ethereum has had quite the breakout here. It's rocking out at 2,648. If you've got some exposure to Ethereum, you are very, very happy today. You're seeing a lot bigger bags of the king of altcoins here. These green histograms undeniably just surging up higher, and those MACD lines having a quick turn of pace to the upside. So very bullish. Now, I will point out on the daily chart, Ethereum still not in that green, bullish zone for the Ichimoku quite yet, but has taken a hard pivot in that direction. It's turned the mini bus around, and it is headed back to Disney World for a little more fun. How do you like that analogy there on your Thursday morning? It's Thursday, folks. It's January 11th. It's the day after the big announcement, and prices are up and to the right. Let's take a look here at some pre-market index movement. Not seeing a ton of movement. It certainly doesn't look like the Bitcoin or Ethereum, but this is the S&P here. And as you can see, it's had a pretty strong, I don't think I pulled up this chart in 2024 yet for you guys. It's had basically a sideways year so far to start off the year. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, it has been up and to the right. And if we zoom out to the weekly chart for the indexes, why do we care about this? Because we do want to see how the stock market is reacting to this inflation print. So far, it's basically nothing. There's not really a reaction to it. It's not a big move down or up, meaning that the market is not taking the Fed as important in their calculations for risk. Taking a look here at the green histograms, again, this is the SPY futures. So it's kind of a good way to gauge the markets, though, especially pre-market, because the markets aren't open yet. So there you go. Yeah, green histograms decelerating there for the SPY index. That is the S&P mini futures there for those keeping score at home. Let's take a look at a couple more altcoins here. Got Cardano making a nice move higher, trying to get back some of those gains that were earned and then given back here in this retracement back on the 1st of January. I'm out on the weekly chart, but I'm going to stay there. You can see the kind of tug of war, the consolidation, the breakdown, and now the tug of war to go higher. If we can close here at 60 cents on Cardano, that will be the highest candle body close here in this new bull run. So that would be very, very bullish for Cardano. Am I also seeing a candle body close higher than the previous? No, it's pretty equal. This would have been bullish if this candle body would have closed higher, but it didn't. That's okay. That's not the end of the world. But, we would have liked to have seen that. That's all right. You can see as it's a weekly chart again, guys. So I've gone on the hourly, I've gone on the daily, I've gone on the weekly. I'm looking at the weekly here for Cardano. You can see it's pulled away from that top Bollinger Band. Well, we've got a lot of news, and Tim and I will be covering much more altcoins in the charts today on the 3 p.m. stream, so definitely be tuning in for that. But I'm going to go ahead. I've got a decent amount of stories here to bring you guys to keep you up to date on what matters for your crypto portfolio. And the name of the game right now is there is a reset in the fundamentals of risk assets, not just crypto, also stocks, right? Because the stock market has been kind of had, it's kind of not been the darling. Crypto has been the darling, right? All the attention's been going to crypto. Well, now the event has happened. There really isn't any other any more moments to this saga of the spot Bitcoin ETF, right? Other than today when the market opens at 9:30. We are going to find out just how much cash is on the sidelines waiting to enter those spot Bitcoin ETFs, which of course is very, very exciting to think about. And there's a lot of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the news. See if we can find some hints as to what dominating narrative is going to try to come in and steal the attention from all the other narratives. We'll see. And we can potentially also gain a little bit of an edge on trying to predict what that might be and how that's going to influence the future prices of these assets. So let's take a look here. We'll start with the Kabesi letter and its interpretation of today's inflation print. So it goes ahead and says December CPI inflation rate rises, to 3.4% above expectations of 3.2. Okay, so that's bearish, right? Core CPI inflation fell to 3.9% above expectations of 3.8, right? And then this is the 33rd consecutive month with inflation above 3% and the first jump since September. Can the Fed really pivot right now? So that's the question, right? Does this put the Fed kind of tie their hands a little bit and say, hey, those cuts we were talking about in December, the press conference, we're not so sure we're going to be able to do those cuts. So, or they're going to have to be pushed to the late months of 2024. Either way, I think that we're probably seeing the Fed's influence on markets kind of recede, right? The current inflation interest rates that we're seeing, while they are higher than usual, while they're higher than the last kind of decade's average, they're not suffocating, right? Homes are still selling, inventory is still moving off shelves. The American consumer is still buying goods, whether that be on credit or out of their actual savings accounts. Regardless, there is still a lot to believe in here with the American economy, and ultimately, the Fed may actually go ahead and recede into the background. Let's keep moving here. Speaking of receding, got a hairline joke there. You gotta love it. Gary Gensler voted to approve Bitcoin ETFs despite public criticism. Can you believe it? So this is actually kind of crazy. You can look at the votes here on the SEC.gov website. You can take a look. So the votes were Hester Pierce voted to approve, Udana, Yida, I don't know how to pronounce that, approved, Crenshaw not approved, and then Lazaraga not approved. Gensler was the swing vote, right? He approved. So he could have not done that, and that would have been a problem. But ultimately, he made the bullish decision, the favorable decision, at least for me, right, and for the crypto community, for the BROZ indeed. And so, do we owe him thanks? You tell me. Do we owe Gary Gensler thanks for his action here? Let me know down in the chat. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments as well. Let's keep moving here. I strongly encourage you guys to take a look at this. I'm going to post it in the comments here of this video. I'm going to post it in the chat, right? Well, I'll post it in the chat afterwards as well. But this is pretty great. Out, damn spot. Out, I say. Statements on omnibus approval order for list and trade Bitcoin-based commodity-based trust shares and trust units. So it's a mouthful there, Hester. And a little bit of profanity too mixed into your title here. But this is her kind of statement after voting in the affirmative for this spot Bitcoin ETF application kind of saga. You can see she starts with today marks the end of an unnecessary but consequential saga. Right, it absolutely does. And that's kind of our theme for today, right? This fundamental story that has been absolutely driving prices, luckily up and to the right, is coming to an end. What will replace it? What will kind of capture the imagination of traders and investors to deploy or recoil their capital from markets? So I strongly encourage you guys to go read this. Obviously, I'm not going to read all of this on air, but she goes into kind of her thinking, and it's very impactful. There's a lot of folks. Balaji, actually, Srinivasan, he posted a really, really nice, thoughtful thing on Twitter. Let me see if I can find it really quick, so you guys could go read that as well. That one's really, really good. I would recommend reading that. As some of these folks who've been in crypto have been thinking about Bitcoin for a long time. They kind of pontificate about the history of this this moment. History is running in reverse. So Balaji starts his Twitter post here about this. This is a long scroll, but it's worth it. It's beautiful. And then this is actually where I found out that there even were dissents in a sense, or confirmations. I don't know what they call them at the SEC. For this decision, and those were linked down here. But strongly recommend you go read that. You know, it's obviously very, very insightful and very historic, and it kind of gives you a moment to reflect and think about, you know, the importance of what we just observed yesterday, and how that's going to not just affect you and I's, you know, crypto bags, but it's also going to affect humanity moving forward. It's a very big deal, and it has a lot to do with how America went off the gold standard. So, okay, so that's a dominating narrative as well. You know, the SEC, that whole saga is behind us, right? Now, there will be another one with the Ethereum ETF, and I do fear that this one's going to be a little more complicated. I think that the probability of there being a denial of the ETFs, of the ETH ETFs, is much higher. However, BlackRock still has its 99% approval track record, and it kept it up yesterday, right? It was approved. Probably the most controversial ETF application ever in any country was approved. And so that keeps BlackRock's record still very, very favorable to say that, you know, their ETH ETF application will also be approved. But I do think that the chances are lower. I guess we'll have to wait till the experts over at Bloomberg, you know, now we know the names, Safet and Eric Balkanis, right? These names we now know because they are experts in ETFs. So I guess we'll have to wait till their kind of predictions come out. But what are some other narratives that we can turn to kind of gauge where we might see 2024 move prices of assets? Well, Asia. You know, there's a lot more people in the world that have money than just Americans. So let's go ahead and check out what they've got rocking out over there. We'll start with the bearish, which is that South Korea reiterates ban on crypto ETFs despite U.S. approval. So while stateside we got approval, over in South Korea, the regulators are not so open-minded, right? Let's see what their take is here. South Korea currently bans local financial institutions from owning and buying cryptocurrency, as well as investing in businesses offering crypto. Okay, so that's starkly different from what we experience here in the United States. An official of the country's Financial Services Commission told local news, outlining that the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S. is not. It's not an event that would prompt the Korean regulator to lift the ban or reconsider it. So that's important, guys. I mean, there's not like anywhere near the amount of investment capital in South Korea, right? But the South Koreans have shown that they have a very strong appetite for crypto. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see how that pans out. Meanwhile, there's potentially some thawing seen in China. So versus South Korea, China is actually seeing a little bit of thawing. Bitcoin ETF approvals may have bigger impact on Asia, says Annemenko, co-founder of Yatsu. So some crypto thinkers over in Asia. Regulatory clarity and openness to capitalist pursuits in Asia may aggrandize, I haven't seen that word in a while, aggrandize the impact U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs approvals have on the region. Annemenko's Yatsu told the block Hong Kong could be the next hub in Asia to introduce a spot crypto ETF, regional experts say. So that's pretty big. You're starting to hear, you know, the kind of the drum beats for what could be a very, very big move, which is an easy on-ramp for the Chinese investor to go ahead and get some exposure to Bitcoin. So far, the Chinese government has been even more confusing, even more wishy-washy than Gary Gensler over at the SEC, right? They've had their judiciary come out and say that they would protect ownership of digital assets, but then, you know, the People's Party still maintains the position that they're banned, right? The crypto assets are banned and that mining is banned. But all the data shows, all the on-chain data and just, you know, general, you know, traditional data gathering sources all indicate that there indeed is a large portion of Asians in China, all over Asia, that hold digital assets. So this is yet another narrative that could potentially be dominant. Okay, so we're going to pause here. I'll give my prediction. I think that the biggest narrative going forward is going to be the halving, right? I still think that is going to be bigger than all of these. And if I had to rank order them, I'd probably say, the halving's going to be up there at the top, the Bitcoin halving, and then you probably do have the ETH ETF that's going to be the second most important, and it's going to be moving markets. Let me know in the chat, am I missing any of the narratives that maybe I should be considering here as well? I'd like to know what you think. And also, please do indeed hit the like button. If you're tuning in for the first time, I'm T. Shroom, and I'm very pleased that you're here. To round out my predictions here, I think that, so we've got the halving, and then we've got the ETH ETFs. I think that then it comes down to the Fed, right? And then it comes down to the Chinese, right? The Chinese narrative and kind of the Asian narrative, kind of lumping all that into one as a good American does. So I would probably say, that Fed is going to be a bigger narrative than the Asian narrative. I think the Asian narrative is going to happen all at once, because they do have such centralized control in China. I got to stop. I got to parse my words here. Okay, specifically speaking of China, they have a lot more centralized control. Yes, Hong Kong does seem to kind of dance to the beat of its own drum in some sense, and that is where these spot Bitcoin ETFs look like they're going to be kind of served up to regulators. However, it's going to be it's going to be for China. It's going to be Hong Kong is part of China. So I do think that the Chinese narrative will be important, but I think that the Fed, Federal Reserve, U.S. monetary policy, the tightening and loosening of currency availability, of liquidity availability, is going to be more important just immediately versus that Chinese narrative. But I think we could potentially see, especially if they go ahead and pass those spot Bitcoin ETFs in Asia, in China specifically, that could be very, very big. It looks like in South Korea it's going to be not anytime soon, given kind of the tone of regulators there. So let's go ahead and jump into chat. Haven't even said anything really too much about chat, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Nancy Croy saying, good morning, bros. Nancy Croy was the very first chat of 2024, and she's the very first chat of today. So give it up for Nancy Croy. Always great to see you in there. Mr. J saying good morning. So that's awesome to see. RSand246 said hello. Brian D said good morning, good people. Crypto, the kid come and said, I'm rich. We're all rich. We're getting there. Servando Estrada said happy Tuesday. Servando famously possessing the name that I love to say, Servando Estrada. It's a great name. It's a winning name, and I love to see it. Gia S, wasting no time to say happy Thursday to Servando. We'd love to see it. And let's see, where is everyone confirming the ETFs? There isn't anything on the SEC site yet. Yeah, so that site that I kept shouting out, the press releases, they never posted anything on the press release website, which is just absolutely flabbergasting to me. I don't understand that at all. But someone trying to figure out the SEC is like trying to figure out, the world's toughest puzzle. It is impossible to try to understand. Drew said, still laughing about T-Shroom's quote the other day. Okay, well, that's not specific enough, but I am very happy that you are laughing about it. Man, I wish I knew what quote you were talking about. We do a quote literally every... Oh, here it is. Drew said, we cannot offer financial advice, but we can offer awesome advice. I like that. Let's get those T-shirts going, Drew. Let's make that happen. And Eric saying, are we at a yearly high? Well, that gives me a great excuse to hop back onto the charts. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and being active in the chat. It is great to see the bros here coming out in stride. One more here. We got a percentage sign. I always like to read ones with a percentage sign. It says, hi, everyone. Here to say hi, and your boy closed a 1,400% trade. Let's go, Crimson Caravan. Someone has clearly been tuning into those 8:30 videos that Tim has been dropping. No, I'm just kidding. Crimson Caravan, of course, I'm sure you've worked very, very hard and long to be able to get your emotions in a state where they can tolerate that kind of risk. So you're doing real good. Obviously, that was a leverage trade. And if you're looking to leverage trade, guys, we have a link to Blowfin in the description of this video. Blowfin is absolutely going to be, if you're an American, it's going to be your number one bet for going ahead and leverage trading. If you sign up for Blowfin now, you level up your trading with a massive deposit and trading bonuses with over 270 trading pairs and no KYC. That's right, no KYC as an American. Blowfin is where whales are made. We've got a link for them here, folks, in the description of the video you're watching now. And even if you're not gonna, leverage trade, if you don't think you're ready for that, you can at least go set up that account to support the bros, right? It shows our partners over at Blowfin, that we're doing the work. We're actually going live. We're actually making content, and people are clicking on the links because they're interested. So you can help us out there. And you can also go ahead and just set up an account so that in the case that you do kind of see a no-duh trade out of your own research, you can go ahead and place that trade and make millions, right? That's what we all want to do. Now, be very careful when leverage trading. Definitely understand the risks. You could lose it all very quickly. Let's take a look here at the charts. I'm going to take a look at Bitcoin. Again, let's check in on it on the 4-hour and just kind of see where we're rocking. I'm seeing that the wick is not too much further from that candle body's current close out on the 4-hour chart. We are currently at 47,751. Only a few percentages away from that 47,900 mark that we were able to reach over here on January 9th. So it's very, very exciting stuff, guys. I'm not going to say I never thought we'd get this high, because obviously I did, but this is quite an exciting bull market so far. All right, the bull market is here. We got to take a look at Kaspa, obviously, because Kaspa has actually started to do pretty well. It's been sleeping for a little while, but now it's starting to go ahead and test this zone that I've got drawn out at around 12.5. So let me extend this guy out for us, and we can see, yes, Kaspa coming in and tickling this resistance. Now, it's a lot of resistance. It hasn't closed a candle body in this box since December 14th. So mid-December was the last time that Kaspa was able to penetrate, was even trading in this box, right? So we want to see it get back in this zone. It's been on discount, right? Hopefully some of you were able to get it down here around 9 cents when it wicked down back into the 9s. But maybe some of you have been accumulating here in the 10 and 11 zone. That's awesome too. I'm seeing Alex O in the chat. What is up, Alex? It is good to see you. We had Alex on just a couple of days ago. That's really, really cool. And then Justin Eubanks shouting out, said, yo, Investing Bros, GTM, let's go. So very exciting there. On the 4-hour, you can also see the green histograms showing, oh, we got something exciting on the Ichimoku, guys. Look at this. Kaspa getting into the bullish zone here on the 4-hour. That's pretty bullish. If it can maintain this, then it could be very, very bullish. Last time we were in the bullish zone for the Ichimoku, we were right around this zone, right? So this is potentially pretty bullish. Now, this is where you'll see on the Ichimoku here, you can see we were able to maintain status inside of the bullish zone here for a few different ups and downs. That was back here when when Kaspa was trying to retest these highs and failed, right? Had to put in a lower high, and then from there, let the steam out of the bullish bag and made a move lower to test lower. Well, we tested lower. We found out that there is a ton of buyers kind of at this resistance that was put in back in November 9th. A lot of resistance here. I'm sorry, a lot of support here under just under 10 cents. So I'm keeping my eye on Kaspa. I've got a very big bag of it. I'm excited for it, and I'm hope that you are too. Of course, Kaspa is one of my picks, and it's the pick of a lot of influencers to do, 50x potentially, something much more bullish than Bitcoin, much more bullish than Ethereum. 50x is conservative. I'm calling it at 50x. Not official. I'm not calling it precisely at 50x. People get so persnickety about their price predictions in this space, and that's okay. But it could do 50x. It could do more than the top 10 alts. In fact, a lot of folks are predicting that by the end of the bull run for Kaspa, that Kaspa will actually be in the top 10. Well, we're here at the market open. Let's go ahead and look at the indexes and also take a look at how Bitcoin is trading, continuing to we're getting a little bit of a freeze here. There we go. Bitcoin continuing to trade and push higher here. Loving to see it. That candle body not going too far away from the wick. Continuing to try to push higher. Let's see. I want to look at ARKB. So this is one of the ETFs that have gone live. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, that's not the ticker. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm going to go a couple minutes over here because I want to see ARK Invest's, but for some reason, it is ARKB. That's weird. Why is it not coming up here? Give me just a second here, guys. I want to show how these spot ETFs are actually going to be opening up here. Does anybody know the ticker for any of these ETFs? I probably should have looked into that before it went live, but let me see. I think I know HODL is one. So 21 shares. No. Does anybody know what these ETFs are? Nobody in chat wanted to help me out. No, of course, because you're just lagged behind. Yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer. Well, we might have to just finish early then and not go ahead and do that. Let's see. Again, guys, the point of this is just to kind of see on this historic day, how the spot Bitcoin ETFs actually trade. But I cannot find that any tickers, and I should have been prepared for this. I apologize. Ultimately, it is what it is. I don't want to step on Army Piper's toes. iBit. Okay, let's look at that one. I don't want to spend too. It may not be available on TradingView quite yet, so that's unfortunate. Yeah, it looks like it's just not available. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. So we are seeing some volatility. I believe this is the Defiance Daily Short Digitizing the Economy ETF. Yeah. So I looked up ARKB. Thank you, Drew, for helping me out here. So I believe this is what flipped from the Grayscale's GBTC. Let's take a look here at BBIT. Yeah, so a lot of these are just not listed on TradingView yet. That's why they weren't coming up. FBTC, Fidelity Origin. Let's see how this one's performing. All right, so it is pretty volatile. That's a huge volume spike, 8%. To the upside for that ETF. So there is definitely money coming in the first minute of these being open here. Man, this is exciting, guys. This is freaking awesome. This is so cool. Make sure you guys leave a like if you're heading out. Maybe consider subscribing. Of course, this is maybe not the most interesting moment to you, right? Maybe not the most exciting moment, but to me and to the bros, this is super cool. Let's look at a couple of more of these tickers that Drew dropped in. Thank you so much. By the way, so ARKB, let's see. I thought that was a ticker too. That was the one that I was going to look up. Okay, it looks like it has been properly listed, but there's no trading data on that one quite yet. Let's see if it'll just come up on Google. ARKB, nope, not yet. Yahoo Finance, sometimes they'll have some movement. Yeah, so that trading hasn't started quite yet. So that's interesting. But yeah, we are seeing it for some of the other ones, and that's really exciting. Let's go back to FBTC and see how that's going. This is the Fidelity one, and as you can see, man, this thing spiked. How much did this spike up just in the first couple seconds? Let's see. Is that 20%? Am I even getting the bottom of the... Oh, that's why it was being weird. 20%, yeah, in the first couple seconds there. That's pretty exciting stuff. Goodness gracious. So crazy, guys. This is crazy. This is a historic moment for sure. As the TradFi world attempts to merge with the crypto world, we'll see if it's going to work. Bitcoin is now up at $48,000 per coin, trying to make a run at that all-time high of $69,000. Drew's dropping some more tickers. Let's check them out. I'm interested. Let's see, EZBC. I'm so sorry, Piper. Okay, so some of these aren't coming up. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Really appreciate you tuning in. I've been T-Shroom. We'll be live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Go watch Army Piper's show. I think I'm going to be on Trade Wars as well, Trading Wars with Crypto Keeper. And I think Piper's going to be on there as well. Let me know. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's going to be at 1:30, but go watch Piper Academy now. He's going to go much deeper into the charts. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.